All right, so this is Buggy, the daylight. That would be the amber, which is generally the DRLs. This is your low beams and then your high beams, and that's also your white for the running lights, uh, reverse or stupid signals. The light Jeep lights, all LEDs, all LEDs all around. There's no incandescent bulbs on this thing. Yeah. So again, with all digital, there is no sending unit. There is no unit for the speedo. There's no cables, nothing like that. It is all electronic. Underneath this is the, hang on. This is the GPS sending unit. So it gets its speedo from its speedometer readings from satellites. And then, trying to fix this light here. I keep breaking it. It's not tightening yet. So this is the dash. I just, out of focus, just put it together about an hour or two ago. Not bad for kind of drawn up in Illustrator. Put it together. So marine grade hardware. Everything's pretty good stuff. So we have our headlight switch, ABS panel. I just Dremeled it out. If you looked carefully, I'm not gonna lie, it came out a lot straighter of an edge than I had thought. But pretty durable. Otherwise, so we have our headlight switch. There should be a wiper switch here, but it's never rains in the Pacific Northwest. We have the voltmeter as well as USB. This is like the one cheap part on the thing. I have a nicer one that was aluminum and a lot more higher quality, but it was in blue LED, and I'll show you why that's kind of a thing. I know it's kind of a petty thing, but I did want to make sure that I at least found a white one. And it was unfortunately the only white one they had was dirt cheap. But this is why. So we have all black gauges otherwise. And we have our marker lights here. And there's space more for other indicators there, as well as like that blank switch there. So not bad fitting in the same space as the original dash panel, which had the original speedo there and a fuel gauge to the left and and a voltmeter on the side. But turning it on, you can see all white LEDs. It's quite slick. Fuel gauge is there. That's the oil pressure light. Figured that'd be on all the time or as often, so nice and center. We have a voltmeter there, so we can know if it's charging or not. Really, if the key's on, that's why I kind of like having the lights on as the daytime running lights. That way, it's got a small battery, so it's not going to die out anytime soon. But yeah, the GPS speedo, I haven't tested it yet. You can see it's kind of flashing, waiting for a signal, but we're indoors. It's got 1 mile on it because apparently it was at 0, which I was really happy, and now it's at 1. I guess it just got some readings. So it's got the odometer trip. I think it's a hold down. Yeah, so you have the high speed, 0 to 60 time. It'll count it out. Quarter mile times, and then I don't know the odometer currently, I guess. Oh, and the calibration. So kind of a cool full featured gauge. Fuel does nothing. And this bad boy, it does read it reads in all up to ones, tens, hundreds, or just thousands. I think it also does singles. But you can calibrate it for like when the shift lights come on, so you can change the RPM band, so it'll just say the numbers, and then it'll actually change that. I think you can do all that stuff. I'm reading the manual, but it's not, I did one thing wrong on the wiring, which was lower gauge than I should have. So I gotta put the starter solenoid in it, external, so that it actually carries the load. Otherwise, this dash doesn't actually carry any real amperage off of anything. It's it's all pretty lightweight. Everything is kind of carried by these relays. Forgive this little guy. I still have to have Ford guys. Ford, see, saves the day. Ford. What's it called? Thanks to his couple of salvaged ones. The relays in it are good though. But 87A did me in. I got relays that are 87. It was causing me a problem to have the DRLs switched over because that was kind of the nifty trick I wanted to have, was just a little bit of a manual thing there. That was a thing, and I also botched the turn signal thing. I should have gotten a flasher with the LED module in it, or with the sender for the dashboard lights. Because as it stands now, it's mechanic. It's kind of just a process of having a diode in there to pull it in there from the join signals. But there is a lot of wiring room here. There's actually things for a horn circuit, the high beams. There's extra. We got extra lighting circuits there, triggers for the high beam and the low beam. They all come through here, so there's a lot of stuff that can be added in there. So I want to have a roof rack on it and things like that. So a lot of cool stuff through this little dashboard kit. Like, this is all custom built from really scratch. I started with the original VW wiring diagram and what it needed and the wiring gauges, and then said, I want this, that I want to test. So it's all built up. You can kind of see it. Routes under. Oh man, can't. But basically, it kind of routes all the way through, all the way around under the car. It's all neat, kind of color coded, but kind of terminates there. And then you can kind of see how much wires run through the buggy. This is the actual distro box. It's kind of underneath everything. So this shelf, I know it looks kind of silly, kind of sitting out there, but it actually hides behind this. So that's kind of why the dash is centered, and that dash panel comes off. It'll screw on to where the original one sits and pops out from there. So the goal is, so that way, I'm going to be doing a lot of repair and work on this thing. So this just comes off. That way the dash is all separated, and I can actually take it apart for repair and things like that. Because as it was before, the hood has to come off. But as it was originally wired, everything was wired into the back of the hood, so the car couldn't be separated, and so couldn't repair things later on. So now it should be disassemblable, so, and still tinkerable. So that's kind of why there's looms of wires everywhere. But try to keep it neat and tidy, and it's not bad. I've learned a couple of lessons, couple of mistakes, but I gotta say I'm pretty happy that it actually turned on. Next step will be starting, but so far, knock on fiberglass, no blown fuses of anything stupid, just a couple of rookie mistakes. That 87 relay, I messed up that 87A versus 87. The turn signal, that is a, what was that? That was a that's a LED, obviously, and I drew it from the resistor, and so when I first turned it on, the flasher was going tick tock, and I could not figure out what was going on. It took me about 10 minutes, like 5 minutes of kind of getting annoyed and tinkering with other things and tidying it up before I just followed the lead and go, oh, LEDs will draw it, and triggered the thing. So fix that by putting in another diode, which is kind of the same diodes that I use to separate the circuits for the left and right brakes. So the brakes control the blinker left and right for the what's it called, trailer, because this does have a couple of mounts for a toad. So yeah, otherwise that's kind of that's the fuel pump, all the wires, everything's color coded. It's color coded to a diagram that is somewhere in the car somewhere. I'll organize it all together, but just trying to take some recordings of what was done, and just before, clearly in the raw, because there is garbage everywhere, but I was pretty excited to see it moving and getting going. So let's see, that was kind of a fun thing. I was pleased about that. So with I really didn't want any switches extra from the factory VW. So two position switch. Even though I wanted to go for a three, to have a start, ignition, run, so I could have multiple circuits. But I said no. Try to keep it pretty slim, and go with the two position. And even the headlight, it's just a simple on off. It's a foot dimmer that activates it. So try to keep it faithful, to at least be kind of, at least feel kind of a little more simple, versus having a bunch of modern things on it, considering it is all LED, everything's, relays and modern fuses, because the first one, I mean, the original wiring was just a couple of, never seen those kind of fuses before, but I don't know what they look like, they're weird. But anyway, so that 87A relay was allowing me to do this, that trigger switch, so yeah, that's it for now.